Representative Olszewski.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, Secretary Rubio's earlier testimony referenced the president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, as a private citizen. But in President Trump's own words, Kushner is an envoy of peace alongside Steve Witkoff. So I ask unanimous consent to submit for the record a political article from February 19th detailing the president's announcement, which makes clear Kushner is more than a private citizen.
So ordered.
Thank you. Secretary Rubio, as a senator back in 2023, referencing Hunter Biden, you said, quote, if his last name wasn't Biden, there's no way in the world that he would have made the millions of dollars he made. You also said we can't abandon common sense when someone profits from a family member in power. Is it fair to say that you agree that it's wrong for elected officials and their families to profit from positions of power?
To use government service to make money, yeah, of course.
Great. I appreciate that, and I share that sentiment with you, sir. I want to revisit some of the details that were brought up earlier and put into the record about the president's own stock transactions, a form which he filed that shows he completed more than 3,700 stock transactions in just the first 3 months of this year alone. The president bought hundreds of thousands of dollars in Palantir stock shortly before he publicly praised the company on his social media site. As if the name drop itself wasn't enough, he included the company's ticker symbol for good measure, hardly subtle to me. On March 23rd, after nearly a month of war with Iran, the president said talks were, quote, very good and productive, and extended his deadline for a deal by 5 days. Oil prices dropped and energy stocks fell, while Trump bought shares in companies like ExxonMobil, Chevron, and other firms positioned to benefit if the war continued, which it did at the president's direction. He bought a dip that he created. Then there's NVIDIA. The president bought as much as $1 million in stock just 1 week before the Commerce Department formally approved the sale of NVIDIA chips to China. 1 week. He bought up to $5 million more in NVIDIA stock in February, right before the company announced a major chip deal with Meta. It's pretty good luck if you ask me. If that's not bad enough, the president's son struck a multi-billion-dollar crypto deal with a UAE state-backed firm. After the deal, the administration reversed AI chip restrictions, approving transfers of sensitive technology to another UAE-related entity, chaired by the very same royal family figure involved with the deal with his son. That seems like hardly a coincidence to me, and indeed, it is self-enrichment tied directly to the president's foreign policy agenda, and it's how the president's net worth has grown by over $4 billion since he started this term. As the president gets rich, his wars and tariffs are crushing hardworking American families, and I think the American people see through the BS. This is the most corrupt administration in American history. So, Secretary Rubio, earlier today you said you didn't know the facts about the president's financial dealings. I'm happy to share them if you want to see it specifically, but having run through that, now that you do know, would you agree, and do you have concerns about the fact this administration is in fact profiting from their position of power?
Well, first of all, what I said is the information you guys were putting up, including on this board, first, that's not in my purview as in the Department of State, and these are things you're producing. I don't know if they're accurate or not, but let me just say this. I've been in every foreign policy and national security meeting for the most part this administration has had. Not once, not a single time have I ever seen even the hint or the indication that any of the decisions being made are for the financial gain of anyone in the administration. Those are my observations. That's what I can speak to. I have not once seen a directive on our foreign policy or our national security policy that in any way indicates that it's being done to the benefit of anyone personally. That's what I've seen as a firsthand witness, and that's what I can testify to today.
With all due respect, Mr. Secretary, I may have to get you a new pair of glasses because the facts are right in front of you, and it seems like malpractice for the Secretary of State to not be able to see this president and his family enriching themselves by billions of dollars. So the only thing I can, from my perspective—
No one has ever said in a meeting, let's go do this because it's going to help me make money.
Of course he's not going to say that.
But not even hint at it. Not even hint at it, not even, on the contrary.
You don't have to hint at it. The facts speak for themselves, sir. They're in the record. They're in the forms the president put forward himself. It's in the billions of dollars he has put in his pocket. It is the timing of the deals and the announcements, and the only thing I can see is, my question to you as I conclude my time, Mr. Secretary, is what's changed in your perspective? Is it the party affiliation of the president, or is it your own political ambitions?
I already told you at the outset, people don't make, and I've seen the president say this, people should not be making money off of their government service. He said that repeatedly. I've heard him say that, but not once. I want to reiterate this. There has not been a single decision that's been made that I have witnessed or been a part of that in any way indicate to me or to any reasonable mind that this was linked to some financial agreement or arrangement.
I think the facts clearly or differently, and I hope you take a look at them. And with that, I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Kim.
Thank you, Chairman Mast. Thank you, Secretary Rubio, for joining us right here at the corner.